Welcome to day 22 check-in for the Gym Tang 30-day challenge. We're wrapping up, and this is actually kind of nice because this is my first proper week off in almost the entirety of summer. I had a week off in May. I had kind of a week off. Oh, sorry. In the middle of July, well, between June and July, and then now we're here, and I'm wrapping up for the year. This is that transitional period between assigning tasks for clubs because I want people to enjoy their summer, so I'm not going to assign them work over summer, but it is about that time we need to start thinking about getting back into the swing of things because stuff has to happen in those first 3 weeks, we call it, for clubs where all the onboarding happens, all the new students are looking for a new place of belonging. And you're there to tell them what to do, how to get involved, try to get them involved on campus and get them to meet people who are in grades above them. You know, that education is just, it's cyclic. So you go through education, you get a PhD, you teach more people, and that cycle just doesn't end. But you get more people who are coming out of it, not going back into teaching because you can teach more than one person at a time, which is by design. So, people still go into industry. But bottom line is, we're having that network for our clubs, and it's important that we have everything set up, that we seem professional, that we seem like we have things together, that we actually have a functional club by the time the school year starts. And for me, over summer, that's mostly been networking, trying to get into student summits. You've been going to the hackathons, like NVIDIA. We recently had that founders hackathon I attended, and we're getting into a few other spaces for AI with Sentient, I think. So fun stuff. But bottom line is, all that networking stuff is happening right now, and it's really starting to feel like my summer is over because we're getting that final countdown. So I'm pushing out tasks by August 1st for between my two clubs. So my vice president role is significantly less pressure on my club than my president one, but we'll see how things actually execute. I'm very used to just taking on more work myself if I want to actually see something get done. I would not take a role of leadership if I did not at least know generally how to do everything that somebody I'm giving orders to is. You need to be able to communicate clearly and have a clear ask. I crashed out, I believe yesterday, about people who give feedback and it's open-ended. I appreciate that you are giving me the ability to actually control my own work and my own schedule, but I also need to understand what you're actually asking of me, so we don't just have this loop back and forth where I don't have a clear set of parameters that I need to follow, and then I give you work, and then you're not happy with it, but you're not telling me how you're unhappy with it. You're just telling me that it's wrong. You see what I mean? We shouldn't be doing reinforcement learning in the workplace. We should have tabular data and then be actively working towards a goal where I have a validation set, which means that I'm able to verify if I'm right, if I'm wrong. And the more precise that validation step is, the quicker I am easier to learn and adapt and actually give you something that is useful for you, something that you are looking for. And that means it's more work on your end to clearly define those parameters, but it overall benefits us both. And I think that's a skill that is undervalued, especially when you have something like HR where you have very open-ended asks, because everybody's morals and ethics and feelings need to be heard, understood, and addressed in different ways, which is entirely subjective, which is why I'm doing STEM. I wanted to get away from things that were subjective, and then you get really good at it. Well, not really good, but knowledgeable, I should say. And then you find out it's all just optimization. And there's clear bona fide answers, but sometimes there isn't. Like greedy algorithms, like Dijkstra's. And this reminds me of a video that I was watching today of, by the way, first day off, immediately stay up till 5 in the morning just doing random stuff, and then wake up at 2 p.m. Unemployed MFs hate to see me coming. But it's been nice. It's enjoyable. I just completely lost my train of thought. So that's just not going to be explored today. But today was supposed to be a day for repurposing content that was yesterday, and then being able to build and refine and hone in on that process of content creation. And I can say that I feel like I've gotten better at creating content as we've gone along. I still lose my train of thought sometimes, like right now, but at least in being able to sit in front of my screen and watch myself play different video games and still be able to focus on what I'm trying to say and getting my point across. I still have mixed feelings about making my point clear, about getting rid of filler words, like those laughs that I do, smacking my lips. Sometimes when I listen back to the recording and I can hear the spit in my mouth, it's very unsettling. It's very disturbing. I'm like, oh, I should increase the volume of the game, but I don't want to drown out my voice for the game, because the gaming is just me trying to reinforce or validate my hobbies. I like aim training more than anything for whatever reason, but I do enjoy playing video games with people and just playing video games in general, but I need to make it productive in some way. They say that CS majors over optimize everything. It's probably true. Brushing the teeth in the shower just not necessary at all, but I feels good when I do it. I feel like I'm killing two birds with one stone. I'm like, I need the conditioner to soak for some time. I need the body wash to soak for some time. So might as well brush my teeth. Then you get the bottom row done, and then you rinse, and then you get out, you finish the top row. And then you shave in there too, because your skin is moist. And I don't. Anyway, this is about really narrowing down that process. And there was an ideation phase that you should do before you actually start implementing your videos. And for me, that's been a hop on a video game that I want to play, record it, and I just have singular notes of one sentence, and I just talk about them. I've already said this, but ideation phase happens at any time of the day. Like I'm in a car, or something pisses me off in my day to day, and I'm like, oh, I should talk about that. And it's been a lot of me kind of just putting words out into the void, and not a lot of storytelling. A lot narratives. There's this guy Antonio Gay Jr., I believe, on Instagram, and he makes wonderful content about the state of the world and how brands are processing things. He's like the marketing or something major, but it really is interesting to see how our culture has been shaping us differently, about how we're starving for information and how we crave a sense of belonging. So you'll just make up a sense of belonging. And there's that joke about like performative males, but it's real. People can't tell if they are putting on a show for someone or if they genuinely enjoy the things that they're doing and that they believe in them. And they only find out once they actually get into the thing, and then they're like, oh wow, this doesn't make me happy, but I thought it made me happy because I got a bunch of validation from doing it. I actually found that out about one of my most recent relationship, was just that. It's like they thought they wanted a stable, consistent person who was loyal and emotionally available, and I realize I'm just low-key glazing myself, but like I made a very deliberate effort to be all of those things, but that meant that I hold the people around me to a very high standard because I hold myself to a very high standard, and she didn't want that. She didn't want that feedback. She didn't want that reciprocity. She thought she wanted it because like Instagram or your friends or your peers, everybody tells you that's what you need in a relationship, but it doesn't mean that you're ready to execute it. I thought that I was ready to walk into that hackathon and I had it all figured out. I've spent so much time with Python and Java. I'm an educator, and I spent an hour on setup. I didn't have my NIM set up. I've never used Docker as an environment. I use weights and biases for my runs. I've never made a container. Nemron, new system. I've never even deployed an app. I've never made a launchable. And putting something into like actual scale and hosting on my local so that people can access my stuff, like, no, I gave up. I made a command line tool. I got scared. I went to my defaults. So, it is everything to say that I'm just like, you think you have it all figured out and you feel like you know what you want, but you don't until you actually experience it. Like, there's really only one way to find out, and it's to live. And that's a scary thought, that your mind and your actual thoughts and feelings may be different, but you have two consciousness. You have a subconscious and you have your conscious. And you're living and you think as a human. And there may be a difference between what you need to hear and what you want to hear. And that means that there can also be a difference between what you want and what you need as an individual. And breaking that barrier is so real. Like, people talk about procrastination and they talk about being so well informed about what is right. Like, that's why I feel like advice is bullshit. Like, so many people have a good sense of direction and they just struggle to make things actionable or turn things into action just because it's difficult. You know, it's easy to know what's the right thing to do. It's hard to actually put it into practice. It's hard to be consistent and disciplined. It's a classic speech by Tom Brady, I think 2016, at MF, some MVP. And he was like, you don't need to be special. Everyone's special. No one's special. But you need to be hardworking. You need to be disciplined. You need to commit, right? You need to already, you're rare if you put all your time, all your efforts into one bucket. But a lot of people do that. And you're even rarer if you do it right. And if you're committed to that one thing, if you have that belief in something that it's going to work out, that you have no backup plan. That's why it's so hard to not want to invest in multiple buckets like everything, stock market, optimization, failure, system diagnosis. Like all of it tells you that, like even networking, very common, routing, tells you that having multiple options is your best play in life, that putting everything into one thing isn't going to get you anywhere. But if you want to be that 1%, you go all in. You sleep on the factory floor. Like, unfortunately, he's very political now, but Elon used to be a tech inspiration. And frankly, he's still making cutting edge tech. He's just, you get more money. You get you get more children that you make with married and woman. It gets harder and harder to just live a more normal life. And, well, you don't get anywhere by being balanced. And I greatly advocate for work-life balance. I think it's better for you. But you don't get anywhere by just being average and consistent and doing the same. Okay, that's my day 22 check-in. Not going to change anything about the content. We're still just going to keep it rolling. All right, see you.